Welcome, everybody, to Mid Day Magazine for this Wednesday, November 6th, 2024. I have your host, James J. Malouf here. Want to welcome our good friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Theater, Wisconsin Rapids Community Media in with us. I got theater on the brain. I'm sorry, guys. We appreciate our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media being here. Do yourself a favor. Go to YouTube, type in your search bar, Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, subscribe to their page, and keep up to the great work that they are doing. They are here every week, pretty much, recording our episodes for us. We greatly appreciate that and the mutual self-promotion there, and especially at times like this where we get to spend the entire hour with Wood County Sheriff's Department. Get to do this once a month. We always appreciate the time having Sheriff Sean Becker in with us. Sean, how you been?
Doing great. Doing well, getting over a cold, but always appreciate being here.
This is one of those days, too, where everybody kind of feels, I feel like we all give each other a little bit of grace, like everybody's tired today. Everybody's tired. And I think that's something to keep in mind, not just, going forward and everything, but this week, I would say. Everybody give each other some grace right now, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot. I do want to start with the election. With everything, I happen to have a connection with our local poll workers, and by that I mean my oldest daughter is a poll worker, and 7 months pregnant, by the way, doing it yesterday.
Congrats.
Yeah. I tried to talk her out of it. I'll be completely honest with y'all. I did. I'm an over paranoid first time grandpa, so I was a little worried about
Congrats
it.
But to you.
I was really proud of her out there, and in all seriousness, I did feel comfortable her being out there because of not only what we've seen in reporting throughout the country, but I think what we know of our locals and what we know of our area. I did not see anything from your end of things. Did things seem smooth to you?
Yeah, very. Trent Miner does a fantastic job, just an outstanding job overseeing, our elections here in Wood County, just making sure that, they're done safely, communicating with us. That's one thing with having security, in front of the courthouse. That's where our office is with Brian Peterson and the rest of our security staff that is right next to Trent's office, and just having that contact, even through the last probably year. Just making sure that information is being shared, joint training, with your clerks, along with law enforcement, what do you think we need to have here in Wood County? It went very well. And like I said, Trent does an absolute outstanding job with our elections and getting the information out there. Looking at the polls as they come in, you're seeing results, rather quickly. And that's a collaborative effort that is going on, that not having just one individual clerk overseeing everything, but all the clerks, through Wisconsin Rapids, Marshfield, Pittsville, Grand Rapids, everybody working together to get the information out there. I know throughout the country, there are some certain areas that they felt that they needed law enforcement present at polls. That was not the case here in Wood County. And I don't think really much, in Wisconsin, obviously, and, the bigger cities, Milwaukee and Madison had more of a presence of law enforcement and more big plans. But here it just came down to communication. There's concerns, let us know, and there wasn't. So thank you to your daughter for volunteering her time, and to all the poll workers that did that. It was a contentious election that I think we're all probably, no matter what side you're on, just breathing a sigh of kind of relief and moving forward. That's really, I'm glad the ads are done. I think a lot of people are feeling that way. And as a law enforcement perspective, being a battleground state, and as contentious it was, we had provided staff when another law enforcement agency reached out, no matter who the candidate was. If they reached out and we had the personnel, we sent them. You look at what happened in Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin did not want to be any part of a situation like that ever. And, we took that approach. Didn't matter what sheriff's department requested help. If they did for our agency, we did our best in providing them assistance. So, and that was quite a bit. Marathon County reached out quite a bit just because, Wausau, for central Wisconsin seemed to be the hub of where, candidates were going. And we have a field force team that is really basically there to work as a crowd control team. And that team's combined with many central Wisconsin law enforcement agencies, and the one that oversees it is Marathon County. So we provide, I believe we have 5 deputies that are part of that teams. So deployments, it really depends on what the situation is. But when candidates were coming to Wausau, that was usually the first request that came out there. The other one was, the sheriff's department we've talked about, their canine unit, and having a dog that, detects explosives. We got quite a few asks for bingo, and his handler, Lieutenant Brandon Christensen, to make sure that events were being swept. That was throughout the state. Moving forward now, we don't have to quite worry about personnel being pushed towards these types of events. Just a deep breath and moving forward. I know there's people that are happy and there's people that are disappointed, but I guess the main thing to moving forward is we all have to work together.
Well,
what the results are.
Yeah, and one thing that I think is important to note where with any of this is that democracy continued. And that should be the overall goal for a lot of us with this, is keeping that alive. It's very easy to support democracy when things are going your way. It is a whole different thing to do it when you're in a situation where your side, I hate the terms of winning and losing with an election, but when your side doesn't win. This is where you've got to grow up, and we've got to handle this as adults and work together. It's something that we're either going to do or not, one way or the other. One thing we can take is yesterday, and yesterday went pretty smoothly. I had some incidents in Madison that didn't turn into much, but were sought out and squashed right away. Yeah. I think that the attention to these things is something that we can all take some positives from, and I think that's important right now, where you've got, like you said, you've got some people. Well, we know how this works. Half the country is disappointed right now. Half the country isn't. Right. But all of us got to live together. Exactly. All of us got to make this world work. And it's noteworthy to say. I second what you said. A big thank you to these poll workers, to our clerks out there, to so many people counting these votes into like 2 a.m. and everything, and certainly to our law enforcement that had to be at sites and did the things that they did. We greatly appreciate it. We'll talk more about this on the next election cycle, which is tomorrow. No, it feels like it, but we got a little while here. Yeah. Sean, I know that you usually come in with a lot of notes, a number of things you want to touch on. Where do you want to start?
Tim Bassett, a great friend of mine, was awarded a Jefferson Award from Channel 9. Melissa Langman met with him last week and interviewed him. I put Tim in for the Jefferson Award that Channel 9 does, and it was very appropriate for Tim to be nominated. What Tim has been doing, and Tim comes from many, many years of volunteering to the community. He's a big part of our rescue unit that we've talked about before on the show, but he always looks to see what he can do to give back to the community. And what he's been doing recently is the Reggie Foundation in Anago, where birds that are injured throughout the state go there, and then they try to essentially save them, get them recouped, and then either release them back into the wild, or they keep them alive and they stay there. And Tim took a strong liking to Reggie, and the last several years he's been transporting birds to Anago all through the night, through day. Our dispatchers have his number. If we have a situation where a bird is injured, they'll call him, and he'll take his own vehicle, pay for his own gas, and go to Anago and drop off the birds at Reggie. And throughout the years talking to him about it, I wanted to go on a trip with him, and unfortunately hasn't happened. And he's done a few bald eagles, and I think, gosh, having the opportunity where he saves a bald eagle and be there, and he has numerous times, would just be kind of symbolic. But it's really not fair in a way, because I could do it with any trip that he does, because it's not exclusive to bald eagle. It's anything. An owl could be anything. And a lot of it are situations where a bird gets hit by a car and survives but is injured. And like I said, he's done this countless times. And I just felt with the opportunity that the Channel 9 does the Jefferson Awards, and a big shout out to Mark Sparrock and Sparrock Trucking, because they're a huge supporter of this program. I thought Tim's deserving of it. It wasn't me giving it to him. It was just like, here's the information, consider it. I strongly believe he deserves it, and they came through. and that'll air on Channel 9 tomorrow night at I think 6 and 10. So congrats to Tim. You deserve it, my friend, and enjoy the recognition, and he's very humble about it. He told me that, even talking to, Melissa, it was like his Super Bowl, of life, because here, you're getting recognized for something that he's been doing for, all his life. And those are the people that you really like to highlight and enjoy having in our community.
They do a really good job with the Jefferson Awards. I really look forward to those segments every year when they do them. And they do a shout out to Melissa Langben, by the way, who has been keeping this community informed for decades. And she's so good at what she does. And just as nice off air as she is on air, everybody. Just the same thing as you get on air, off air. And that they do that. And what Tim does is one of those gray areas in our society we don't get to cover very often. I would love to have him on the show sometime. Right. I'd really love that. If we can make you have you be a scheduler, well, that's one more. We'll just add that to your task. We'll just.
Next month.
But and generally would love to talk to him about that. That's the kind of work that we ask of our. I don't know if we ask of our community, but we look for people to step up in our communities to do these things that we don't necessarily have a tailored job for or a title for or something. And a big tip of the hat to him for that. That's really cool and really unique and wonderful to hear him getting noted for this. And good on you for recommending his name. That's great.
He deserved it. Definitely deserved it. A couple other things. Mitzi Ford, our office manager, happy belated birthday. Yesterday was her birthday, so I won't say how old because I know that gets us in trouble when we do that.
Definitely.
But no, I appreciate her being part of the team. The calendar raffle for our special response team wrapped up on the 31st, and that went well. Appreciate all of the sponsors, everybody that bought the calendars. It was a profitable year, and we always talk about equipment needs, and unfortunately there's a pretty significant cost to those. So really appreciate the support for our special response team. It's kind of a fun segment that we were doing on our Facebook page. We're doing that live every morning, and I was wearing different hats when I got the opportunity to read the whoever won off the tickets, and they all started from Mike Weiberg. He last year I had grabbed a ticket out of the the bucket or whatever the thing that they're in, and he said, at the top of your head you can see that you're balding. I'm like, oh, really?
That's uncalled for.
Yeah, I think I know.
Like it was shocking you. Wait a minute, what?
I'm getting gray and I'm losing hair. Yeah, okay. We can look at my family. I know my path. Right. No, okay. So I just said I'll take that and make a joke on me and bring different hats in. Make sure the top of my head's warm. Well, it kind of spun off into just because I have a ton of hats, and then people are bringing me hats this year. Like, hey, how about this one? And then it kind of worked out pretty cool that a couple of our sponsors, hey, wear this hat and bring it on and or wear it and make some comments. So it was pretty fun. So looking forward to. If we do that again next year, we'll definitely go down that path. But again, appreciate everybody that sponsored it, and especially the community that came out there and bought calendar tickets. Had some really good sales throughout the entire county. Our SRT team is combined with Marshfield, so it was nice to not just sell them in the Southwood County area, but getting up into the Marshfield area, and especially at one of the football games in Rapids played Marshfield, and they had their own back-to-badge game. I think I talked about that before, but boy, I think we sold like 30 calendars that night just from the people in the crowd. So really appreciate it. When
it comes to the proceeds from that, how is that going to benefit the sheriff's department? How can that help the sheriff's department?
No, the team looks at, okay, what are the priorities? What are the equipment needs? And, what are the wants and what are the needs? All right, and then we go through that list. All right, what can we budget for? within our budget to get whatever it might be, whether it's probably the biggest thing that we've been looking at are radios and headsets, communications, and ballistic helmets. There's a shelf life for the helmets along with the vests, the heavy vests. So those things that I feel that the department should be paying for, at least a portion of those, because that's part of having a special response team. But there are also other things out there. A drone. Drones have proven to, obviously locally with the situation that we had, save lives. And there's different drones. There's ones that can be just outside, filming everything and a lot of other options. But there's also other ones that you can get inside a residence or a building that's much smaller and you can navigate it. So that's a big thing that we're looking at. Ballistic shields, things like that. So we're going to vet through what are the needs and what are the wants, and then move forward with purchasing some of that equipment. But to highlight, it's always nice to be out in the community, and it's humbling to see the support.
And when it comes to that part of it, I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to piggyback off of that because, these videos you mentioned on Facebook Live and stuff, it's fun. I love imagining you guys having a light moment in your day when there's very few of those. So I don't know many people that could squash on that. But the other extension of this that we talk about often, about building that bridge between our law enforcement and our communities. We talk about this a lot, and we talk about different ways of doing that and engaging, and this is certainly one of them. I don't know if we ever really get to ask a follow-up to that of, are you seeing engagement with that? Are you seeing some of the positives come from that? I know that I have, and I know that I've talked to other officers that have. I'm curious for you, for your staff, are you guys feeling some of the positive feedback, some of that meeting you halfway kind of thing and building that bridge and that bridge getting stronger?
Yeah, with the community support, we talked about it for years, not only with our special response team, but officer wellness, which is fairly new. We've talked about that, how important that is, how mental health is in our community, but also the mental health for our first responders and law enforcement. So, you look at, the bench press meet that we did out at Anchor Bay and how successful that was, and it's different. It's not the typical thing. What is the typical fundraiser you see out in the community with the law enforcement agency? It's probably something to do with the canine unit, because I think people like our dogs more than us sometimes. But that's also a great way to get out in the community and see those partnerships. But doing things that are different, that are raising money for initiatives that help fund things we normally can't. That's pretty humbling. Between the officer wellness. The canine unit I brought up, which is doing very well, not just ours, but I know other communities are as well. I know Wisconsin Rapids Police Department just got a grant for around $15,000 for a new dog. We'll talk about how that kind of happened as well, because it does touch our department as well. But then the special response team, and that was an idea that we had many years ago when we were looking at fundraising for upgrading our rifles. How do you look at that, again, some things you have to budget for, but some things, all right, can we go to the community for and, ask for funding? And we got a lot of support for that several years ago, and the idea was doing a 5K. And with Mid-State Technical College continuing to be that strong partner, we ran a 5K out there a couple times and did very well, and were able to, get the funding necessary for that kind of equipment. So that's what's, seeing it go outside of canine stuff is really cool, to see that the community is supporting us financially when, times can be tough with budgets. Something recently just came up, and to segue in, Lon Roberts had called me on Monday, and that's the son of Elna Roberts, and that was a cold case homicide that finally was prosecuted by the AG's office, and a jury found John Sarver guilty of that horrific act. And the sad thing is that the family waited so many years to see justice finally served, and the AG's office did a phenomenal job, and so that the staff that continued to work that case throughout the years, and the two primary people that worked that case were Dave Laudy and Bob Lewandowski. I've brought them up numerous times in the show, because they mean a lot to me. They're two mentors that I've kind of looked at. As I went on through my career, I want to be like them. That's kind of the people that I learned the most from. In my career. So, but anyway, when Lon called me, he just said, I'm looking at giving a donation to the department. I'm like, okay, it's not a lot, but I want to do something in my mother's name, because it's going to be the 40th anniversary coming up here, at the end of the month. And I'm like, all right, but I really, and what he said, and the message, and I'll save it forever, is, not only with the current department, but, what Dave Laudy and Bob Lewandowski did for this investigation and never gave up and continued to move forward. And even when they retired, they came back. They still were involved in the investigation, answering questions when we were getting assistance, from the state, from DCI, and our current investigators working on the case. They were there. They never turned their back on it. It meant something to them. And to hear, Eleanor's son, bring that up and bring them up specifically, was very humbling. And then to give a donation to the department, and basically telling me, well, for whatever you want to do it for. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If this is going to be in, something in your mother's name, who suffered a terrible tragedy along with the Roberts family, it's got to mean something to the department. And I had said that, I'm going to kind of defer this on what we're going to do with this donation, and see what Bob and Dave think. And, I called them both yesterday and said, hey, here's where we're at, and then I think the Roberts family want to do something more too with Mid-State Technical College on potentially a scholarship opportunity that's going to be separate from our department, but something, to provide some scholarships for people wanting to get into law enforcement. But this is just something to give to the department. And I'm like, take some time, think about it, because, you want something, that the department has that we could say, for a long time, well after my time, this is to honor, the Roberts family, to honor Eleanor, and honor the hard work that not just some of our staff did, but what Dave and Bob did. And that's where, I threw it on their shoulders. I'm like, all right, you tell me what you think we should put this towards. Definitely we'll have something on display at the Sheriff's Department, which is really good timing with, the facility getting closer and closer being done. And we'll have a display case that will definitely have, something for Eleanor in it. But what else do you want to do? And we kind of, brainstormed a little bit on, what would be the best fit to continue to honor her throughout, as long as we can remember.
I appreciate you sharing that. I appreciate hearing that, and I'm looking forward to seeing more about that. That's fantastic. So thank you for that. We'll take a quick time out. We'll come back and have more conversation with Sheriff Sean Becker and our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media here at Midday Magazine on WFHR. Welcome back, everybody, to Midday Magazine for this Wednesday, November 6th, 2024. Have your host, James J. here, and we're joining for the entire hour with Wood County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Sean Becker with us, along with our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Sean, we have a couple of other things we want to make sure to touch on before we wrap up today.
Yeah. As I mentioned before, I've coached football for a few years now at Lincoln High School, and had a tough season, unfortunately. I feel bad for the kids. But I'll tell you what, the last game this season was back the badge game. And that's something that Coach Tony Bello has been, very passionate about, supporting local law enforcement. And obviously not because I'm part of the staff, but, just, wanting to honor Wisconsin Rapids Police Department, the Wood County Sheriff's Department, really draw attention to, hey, we're here standing up and supporting law enforcement. So the last game this season was against Eau Claire North, and it was a close game. And it started off with we got a flyover from LifeLink, and that was pretty cool. And we got the idea from Marshfield Police Department when they did that for the game up in Marshfield against Rapids, and it was pretty cool. That's how the game started. Had a fairly good crowd, and the kids had different uniforms that all were back to badge theme. And like I said, Coach Bill has been doing this for quite some time, and it's it's really cool for me to see, not just myself, but so many other law enforcement officers from our agencies there that get honored during the game. And it was really it was a neat experience. It always has been every year. And what's going to happen now with Marshfield in their senior high, that's going to be the back-to-badge game whenever they play. Whatever part of the county it's on, that's what the theme is going to be.
That's awesome.
Hopefully we'll have a traveling trophy put together, and it won't be like the jug, but it'll be something pretty cool. But this game, and last one in particular, we had a young quarterback come in, we call him Big Rich, and sophomore, and the last drive of the game did awesome, and 6 seconds left, he threw a 26-yard touchdown, and that was a deciding factor in the game. So just a memory that, I'm not going to ever forget, and it was close, and the kids really deserved to win that game, not because of the theme, just because how the season was going, and I always watched the seniors, and see how they're, feeling throughout the season. I know this was really hard for them, and, and listening to them talk to the team and address them before the game was quite humbling, and it's like, boy, I wish we could have done more as a coach, but, it is what it is, and it builds character with these young adults, and so it'll be interesting to see how they move forward with their lives. That's probably the biggest takeaway that I get is, connecting with kids when they're young adults and seeing what their life has taken them, and I've had one on the show here before. He, works for Rapids Fire Department, and that was really cool to see Mr. Tim come out here and seeing him being part of the fire department, married now, and kids. It's like, boy, I'm old.
Yeah, it just happens. It happens overnight too.
It does. Yeah.
We talked about this on Playmakers a little bit when it happened, and certainly I make no bones about it. I'm a Lincoln alum. I was rooting for the team all season, every week. Yeah. You feel for the kids. I echo everything you were saying about the seniors and some of that. But if you're going to only win one game in the season, that's the one to win. Like, that was a great game and a great way to go into the off season, a great way for the seniors to. Another thing we talked about on Playmakers, less than 2% of these kids go on to actually play professional sports. It's such a small number, but one thing we do know is that the confidence they build, the people skills that they the leadership skills that they learn, that they can take with them into anything they do in life. And a lot of that comes from the coaching out there. And so to you, to the coaching staff, not just of our local teams, but all the teams out there, big thank you to everybody that puts in the time out of their everyday lives to be able to do this stuff and coach these kids, not just about what the X's and O's, but about what it is to be a good human being.
Yeah, no, and that's where I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for Coach Biolo, Coach Mancuso, and many other coaches that I've worked with throughout the years. I mean, if you look at the foundation that they have, and you want to emulate that as well as a coach, and I just love doing something different in the community, and it's fun, trying to at least pass something on to help them better themselves, not just as a player but as a person. And those are, like I said, the humbling experiences that come up, and you don't know how many years later it might happen, but it has, and it's pretty cool.
That's great and good to hear. And again, the big thank you to everybody on the great football season out of Lincoln and all of our local teams. Appreciate all the work from everybody out there and that they put into this. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
We also have a couple more days left for Coats for Kids. Wanted to mention that as well.
Yeah, if somebody has something that they can donate as far as a coat, you can bring it down to the courthouse. We've got a bin there that we filled up a few times. That was one of Chief Deputy Quentin Ellis's ideas to, hey, what are some things that we can do out in the community? And we've been running with that for quite some time, so awesome job, Q. We're also collecting. We started the Toys for Tots campaign, so we've got a collection point also at the courthouse, so if you want to bring in a coat or two and a couple toys, please do that. We'll make sure they get to the right spots.
And you can just drop them those off at the courthouse?
Yeah, right at the security entrance. You can just bring them right up there and leave them there. You don't have to come in and go get screened. You can just leave it right by the security stuff, and we'll take care of it from there.
Fantastic, and greatly appreciate you guys doing that, and so many of our businesses and local nonprofits doing those kind of things. One of the things that you don't have to drive too much around town to see that there's some, it's still orange cone season. There's still some construction going on, and with the most recent round, it's got me taking a different route. One of the positives for this, for me, as a kid that loves architecture and everything, is I get to go past the jail every day, and I'm seeing the work being done on that, and I haven't gotten to. Well, I've seen the work and the progress being done. I don't go past there every day like I have the last week or so. And boy, does that thing not only look great, but it looks like things are really starting to come together, starting to, getting ready to put this thing on the market. But it is looking like it's very close to being done.
Yeah, definitely. It's on schedule. Things are going really well with it. I think there's some misunderstanding on a local, story that was done on it, that there's some delays. There's no delays. Our project manager's been continuing to do an awesome job, the Samuels Group out of Wausau. And then, the other people that have, stayed on top of the project, Ruben Van Tassel, Ted Ashbeck, but things are going really well. Our plan is to have an open house on December 17th after our county board meeting, so that should wrap up around 10:30, somewhere around there. But then it'll be an open house where we'll have a few people talk, in the new county board room. And then we'll have some guided tours. We'll have staff there to really give the public the opportunity to, walk through the facility as, at that point, everything will be done. Then we'll start the training phase of with all of our staff to get ready to, operate that facility. Like I've said before, it's completely different from our current facility. So that'll be the challenge, but I really trust Ted and Susanna Wagner and the rest of our command staff in our jail to move forward with that transition, and hopefully we'll have occupancy sometime, early next year. I'd love to say it'll be February 1st, but, I can't say that specifically yet until, the staff is trained. And part of that process, too, is as you're training the staff, you're making sure everything's working. Even though it's brand new, there could be something that, hey, it needs to be fixed, or hey, it doesn't work, we need to replace it, that kind of thing. And, I've learned a lot through this process. And one of the many things I've learned is, that's where, the Samuels Group will keep staff here even after, the project is operational, just to address any concerns that might come up. Again, they've been just a phenomenal partner on site, working with them, and they've been just outstanding. We're lucky that they signed on for the project.
When we first moved into this new building and everything from our old establishment, when we got to share a lot of the behind the scenes with the audience and everything, but I don't think one of the things we got to let people know is the first time we found out these boards work was when we went on the air live. We kind of, it's the only way to really know with certain things. Hey, if it's working or not. We can test stuff out off air, but you really don't know until you're in real time and in the moment doing it. I'm curious, you mentioned training, so will they have an opportunity to really understand the facility, really get their fingerprints into the facility, no pun intended, but get in there and really understand and feel comfortable with it before you kind of, if you will, open up shop? Yeah,
we've been pushing the staff to take any opportunity they can to tour it, to look at it, because what you're seeing now, where the booking counter is, where master control is, where the observation points are, where you can get an idea of what you're going to be doing when you're going to be working, there. So, that'll be the challenge, because everything's different. But we'll work with other counties that have a similar pod design, newer facilities. One being Trumpeldor County. Samuels Group was a big involvement where they oversaw that project as well. Much smaller jail, but the same concept. So. We'll be working with other sheriff's departments to provide our staff the opportunity to okay, now you're working in, a jail that has the same design. Wapaka, pod design, older jail, but it's a pod design. And, we've been housing people there for quite some time. And I think that'll be another good opportunity. They've been a great partner throughout this whole project. Our contract was up with them at the beginning of this year, and they didn't come after us, gouging us for rent. They're very fair, and we appreciate that, because I think that could have been an opportunity to make money on Wood County. But you know what? We've had that partnership for a long time, and I really appreciate Sheriff Wolves just saying, hey, here's the cost. It's not much more of an increase. It's similar to what other counties are paying, and didn't go after to gouge us, which is much appreciated. The taxpayers here in Will County appreciate that.
And on a number of levels, certainly with your wallet or your bank account, and you're going to see more of that as the years go on here with the new jail. But I think one of the things that we might, we do appreciate it just as much, and maybe it doesn't get talked about or anything, is that, something you and I have talked about, it was just a long time ago, is how important those communication those relationships are with different departments and everything. Criminals don't tend to stay in one zip code. It's so important to be able to share information and have an open line of communication like that. That's just as vital as having these working relationships as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great point to bring up. Those working relationships, especially in the law enforcement side of things, are huge, because you never know when you might have a situation that might be like very active, or something down the road that, hey, I need help. And for me, and I feel that the perspective is really the same for police chiefs around, and other sheriffs around, that, hey, you need help, call, you're going to get it. And that's been something that I take pride in, because if you don't have that relationship, who really suffers? Not just the staff, but the community does. If somebody wants to put themselves on an island for whether it's ego or whatever it might be, the people that get hurt are your community's going to get hurt, and your staff could, and that's just not the right attitude to have. Put the ego aside, put the feelings aside. When you need help, you ask for it, and vice versa.
We're speaking with Sheriff Sean Becker right now at here on Mid Day Magazine. And Sean, I know we had some other things we wanted to get to before we wrap up the show here.
The other thing, as we talked about the teamwork aspect of law enforcement, we did have a significant drug arrest that really highlights that. Leonard Greenwich was recently arrested last week on an investigation that had been going on for a couple of years. So when you have something like that, it's not just exclusive to one agency, and you said it, because crime just doesn't happen here, especially when somebody's a drug dealer. They're going to be going out to wherever they can move their product, if you want to call it that, because they act like business people. And what was being pushed was fentanyl, cocaine, and marijuana and meth. And with this joint investigation, this individual was finally placed in custody, and with the teamwork of Scott Goldberg, is just doing a phenomenal job at the department, oversees all of our investigators. But then again, that working relationship with other agencies, the Drug Task Force, DCI, and when you have a situation that goes on like this, and you see it come to fruition, it's a lot of work that has been going on for quite some time. So we've got a dangerous individual that's been taken off our street, and that was based on the teamwork that our department, along with many others, had a part of.
Another part of the job that we don't get to talk about very often is so many of these cases that take time to develop, that take time to put into, and there's no guarantee that you're going to make an arrest. So that time that you're spending on it, it's tough to, I imagine, as an officer, and especially somebody who took this job because they want to help now. They want to do something right now and make an impact and do good. And oftentimes, the only way to do that is with patience and letting something play out and everything. And that it is a noteworthy case to not only bring in, but certainly, like, just even the backstory of that it took years to be able to get that done. I don't think we think about those things very often as citizens. We see the results on the news or something in the newspaper, but the work that gets put into these things is just as important as the case being brought to fruition here.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I'm going to bring up is Channel 7 does a podcast. It's called Never Forget. Cassandra Sabeda's doing it. She did one on another investigation, the Deidre Week case, some time ago. And now she is just completing one on Deidre Harm's investigation. Really appreciate her taking the time, coming in to interview us, just be, quite forward with where the investigation's at, who we feel or who we know did this, Chris Reback, and, getting the information out to the community, and that's going to air this month sometime. The anniversary date for that tragedy is coming up towards the end of this month during hunting season, when we found her remains on the west side of Wisconsin Rapids. But really appreciate Cassandra again coming in. Like I said, I've worked this case for most of my career. Even with the position that I have now, I still work it because I was an investigator when I was assigned the case, and appreciate the media looking at this, and I'm hoping that this will get some information from the community, because I think there's a couple people out there that know more information that weren't very truthful to us, or they're holding back, and that's just my gut feeling, and based on behavior that I've seen these people kind of displayed throughout the years. And I'm hoping that with this podcast getting out there, that'll provide some more information that will help. But, it's not going to change the big scope of things. Chris Reback did this. And, unfortunately, he's not with us anymore to get served. He can serve justice for it because he took his own life in a different jail in Missouri. But I still think that the family could deserve that. I know the family doesn't like the word closure, but I don't have a better word for it, or moving forward, that now I can definitively say that Chris did it, even though I've been very forward with him that he did. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate Channel 7 and Cassandra, coming down and taking the time, because it's a big investigation. I could say that, not just because it's a homicide investigation, but the work that was put into it by not just myself or the Wood County Sheriff's Department, but Wisconsin Rapids Police Department, DCI, other FBI, you name it. We had a lot of help with this investigation, and there's a lot of work that was done. And I'd like to see that, officially closed. And I can't do that, but other people can. And but again, I appreciate that partnership, with the media, and for tragedies like this that they can help.
Yeah. Every life's valuable, every life's important, and every life deserves a full story. And this was part of her story. I'm thankful as well to the podcast to bring attention to this. I appreciate the times over the years that you and I have been able to focus on cold cases, or just talking about cold cases in general, letting the audience know so much of what I think you might think you know, but you don't until you're hearing from an officer that is still, getting this case still is like it's fresh to them. It's like it's happened yesterday. I hear it in your voice with this case. It hopefully not only creates a little more empathy in our community for what you guys do, and certainly our retired officers that continue with these cases long after they don't have to, but also bringing attention to cold cases in general, and how I think there should be more of a segment, more of an opportunity for us to highlight. There are so many of them out there to be able to highlight these, and you just never know what, you shake the tree and something might come out. I think that it's wonderful to hear about that podcast, just as even more wonderful to hear kind of that story. Wonderful is not the right word for it, but to hear we have something that this story is told. And how important that is to have happen. We got about a minute left. Did you have anything else, Sean?
A big shout out to Craig Tim, good friend of mine. He's a instructor at UWSP. And this is the third time I've got the opportunity to do it. He instructs one of the communication classes, and he just has me come in and do a Q&A on not just law enforcement, but media. So I had the opportunity to do that yesterday. I got frustrated, though, because here I'm coming to Stevens Point on 66, and that train was there. Yeah. And so I'm texting, I'm like, I'm going to be a little late. The train's not moving. And, we tried to have some jurisdiction over over trains and stuff, and it didn't work out. That's a federal thing. So we got to talk about that in my frustration. But no, it was fun. And being a UWSP alumni, it gives me the opportunity to kind of see the changes on campus, and then just kind of connect or just talk with the students there, and get a little bit of their background, and then just kind of free flow it, Q&A it, and then talking about the relationship with media and how that reflects on a law enforcement agency.
Yeah, it had to have been a really interesting conversation. Yeah. That's really cool to hear. I'm up in Point at least once a week, and every other time I'm going up there, that train every time. Appreciate you, sir. Thanks so much for the time, Sean.
You bet.
And if people want to find out more, I encourage you to go to woodcountywi.gov. You can reach our sheriff's department that way, woodcountywi.gov. I want to encourage you as well to go to YouTube, type into your search bar, Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Go to all your social media outlets and type that in there and subscribe to their work and keep up to date on the great work they are doing. We appreciate you guys over there. We'll have more Midday Magazine for you coming up on 97.5 FM, 1320 AM, WFHR, locally grown radio.